What is going on, my Houston Texans family? Are the Texans legit threats to the Kansas City Chiefs? That is the topic that the Up and Adams show with NFL reporter James Palmer is discussing. We're going to react to this clip. Look, as a Houston Texans fan, I think we are legit threats to the Kansas City Chiefs. When you see the offseason that we had, and you've heard me say it many times before, the first team in NFL history to add a 1,000-yard rusher, receiver, and a player with double-digit sacks. You added two of them, Danielle Hunter and Danico Autry. The 1K receiver, Stephon Diggs. The 1K rusher, Joe Mixon. And I haven't even got to Azeez Al-Shaair. I haven't even got to bringing back Dalton Schultz. The Houston Texans, they armed themselves this offseason, and I think they have a shot at making the Kansas City Chiefs sweat. With that being said, this is the 713 Houston Sportcast, where I drop daily Houston Texans content. So make sure you guys are following me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you all so much for watching today's episode. Let's get to the clip.
Diggs and Mixon and, CJ Stroud obviously coming off the season that he did. Answer my unanswered question. Is it enough for these Texans to be real challengers to the Chiefs?
I think so. I mean, right now, nobody's in the Chiefs' realm just because nobody's doing what they're doing. So we can't put anybody in that until we start playing games. But they're built to do it, Kay. They really are. And it's not because of, like, Nico Collins getting this deal and the growth Nico's had and the time he spent with Dre to, become more efficient as a big body receiver, or Tank Dell, and you add Stephon. It's not the skill guys to me. I think they're built to do it because of where they're at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Like, CJ walked into a really good situation with a good offensive line, with a lot of emphasis on what they do with that offensive.
Okay, the offensive line, we have yet to see them play one full game together. The projected starting lineup did not play at all together, guys. It's Laremy Tunsil at left tackle, Kenyon Green at left guard, Juice Scruggs at center, Shaq Mason at right guard, Titus Howard at right tackle. That's who I think will be the starting O-line. And with the amount of injuries that this O-line had, it was surprising for them to put up 0 sack performances against teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith.
Line and how their offense is developed. And then the defensive line, like Danico Autry, I think is a really, really sneaky pick by any team in football this year. He had a really good year last year. And then Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., I mean, it's May, 29th? But, like, at the end of this season, Kay, we could talk about, like, this being the best edge rushing duo in football. Like, they have that type of a talent, and then they got better at linebacker. I think Petrie is so underrated. Stingley had a great year last year.
So let's start with the first part. He mentioned the D line, mentioned Danico Autry. If you remember, the Danico Autry was done during day one of free agency. That was kind of one of our big splashes in day one, and then Azeez Al-Shaair came a couple of hours later. But Danico Autry, defensive tackle / defensive end, 11.5 sacks for the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Houston Texans are his third AFC South team. He spent 3 years with the Colts. He spent 3 years with Tennessee. Now he is spending the next, I think, 1 to 2 years with the Houston Texans. Danielle Hunter, our big signing in day 2, 2 years, $49 million guaranteed, took less money to come play in his hometown. Danielle Hunter was a huge signing coming off of 16.5 sack season. It's going to be one of your, leaders here on the team, and just adding him opposite of the reigning defensive rookie of the year, Will Anderson Jr. He himself talked about learning from Danielle Hunter. And like James Palmer said, this is going to be one of, if not the best, edge rushing duo in the NFL.
Jimmy Ward back there that still knows everything D'Amico wants to do defensively so well. I think down the middle of the field and through the lines of scrimmage, they were just really, really good. And the other part that stands out to me, and that people are always curious, like, will there be a sophomore slump, right? Always with quarterbacks. Will that happen? I don't think it's going to happen with CJ. Now, you mentioned earlier the strength of schedule changes dramatically for them. I think that's a big part. But I've had conversations with Bobby Slowick, who stayed, which is a big part for CJ at offensive coordinator. He just always makes the right decisions, Bobby said. Like, he checks the ball down. He comes back to the sideline. Hey, I wanted you to push it there. It wasn't there. It wasn't there, coach. I took the check down. Like, that's such a veteran way to think. And that's the way CJ goes through progressions, goes through them with his feet before his eyes, which is like a rare thing for a young quarterback. I just think he's built not to really, take a step backwards in how he's working when you add the weapons that I'm not emphasizing.
Not only did you bring back Bobby Slowick, who was getting interviews for head coach, you also brought back quarterback coach Gerard Johnson, who was getting interviews for offensive coordinator. And that was really the first moves of your offseason. Once again, investing into the development of your quarterback. Give me one more year with Bobby Slowick as my OC. He becomes a head coach. Gerard Johnson, you get the promotion to OC next year. The familiarity is there for CJ Stroud. He will be comfortable and ready to go as he's about to enter his prime next year. The Houston Texans did everything that they needed to do to invest into CJ Stroud. They brought in Joe Mixon. They re-signed Dawson Schultz on a 3-year deal. They re-signed Nico Collins on a 3-year deal.
But also where they're built on the inside.
So they could contend with the Chiefs, is what you're saying.
I think they could. I definitely think they could.
I think they could. I think they could also, Palmer. Now, beating them is a different story. But I think you have an opportunity. I think you have a roster right now that could throw a punch at the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Houston Texans could take a punch back. I think as the season goes on, as these players get familiar with each other, this Houston Texans team will get stronger. As of right now, I'm liking my chances against Kansas City. We just have to wait and see once football season starts. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comments down below. And for more Houston Texans content, you guys know what to do. Hit that sub button. Guys, do me a favor. Have a real blessed rest of your day.